Good afternoon. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Socorro, Texas. It is December 6, 2022, 5:30 p.m. We call this meeting to order.
Good afternoon. Item number 2, establishment of quorum. I will be taking roll call. Andrew Arroyos,
Here.
Enrique Cisneros, absent. David Estrada,
Here.
Julie Dominguez,
Here.
Juan Vaquera,
Here.
Enrique Cisneros.
Here.
We have quorum with 5 commissioners present. And moving on to item number 3, notice to the public, open forum. Lisbeth, do we have anyone that would like to speak? Yes?
Miriam Cruz.
Yes, Ms. Cruz?
Hi, thank you. Can you remind me how much time I have?
Say that again.
3 minutes?
3 minutes?
Okay, thanks. Good evening, former commissioners, you guys are still commissioners. I wanted to touch on a couple of items. The first thing that I wanted to mention, and that I'm only now seeing on video, is that seems to be a lot of members from the public, and I hope that they were asked if they wanted to sign up for any items, since sometimes new members from the public don't know that they need to sign up before or ahead of time. So I hope they're given an opportunity if they do want to speak on an item. The second thing I wanted to mention is that the backup that's provided online, it doesn't clearly state the backup what's for which agenda item. And for many, many years that was, and at least in City Council, that is something that is provided. It's clearly marked what backup, when it starts for a new agenda item, and I think that would be helpful for not just the public, but for everyone that reviews these documents. And the third thing that I wanted to ask, or make a comment about, is that there doesn't seem, and maybe this will be discussed later, I'm not really sure, but I'm not really sure if Planning and Zoning Department ever forwarded the fact that Ms. Dominguez had 3 absences in a row to City Council, and it seems that even if there's a good reason why she shouldn't be removed, that's up for City Council to make a decision, and not for us not to follow the rules that that y'all as a commission clearly set out. And so I would hate for a bad precedent to start, and I think that it's important that that information get to City Council and they make a decision, just like that would need to apply for anyone else. Thank you, that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Cruz. Anyone else that would like to speak, Lisbeth? Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion made by Andrew Arroyos to approve, and second by Juan Vaquera. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Moving on to item number 5, public hearing request for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Block 1, Lot 1, Horn Subdivision, Block 1, Lot 2, Horn Subdivision, Block 1, Lot 3, Horn Subdivision, and Block 1, Lot 4, Horn Subdivision, located at 10678, 10680, 10682, and 10684 Horn Circle, Socorro, Texas, from R-1 Single Family Residential to R-2 Medium Density Residential. Mr. Arroyos?
Good afternoon. We open public hearing at 5:35.
Before that, Mr. Chair, I have to recuse myself regarding items 5 and 6. I'll step back.
You okay with that?
Mr. Chair, and I believe that we have several members of the public that signed up to speak on this item.
So we open public hearing at 5:35.
Yes, Claudia Garcia, if you would like to speak, you have 3 minutes.
I'm here to ask you, I live on Horn Circle. Okay, I live on Horn Circle and we've been there for about 30 years with my parents first and then myself. And so we're here to speak against the rezoning from a single family to a multi-residential property. And so the property owner wants to go from a single home property to a multi-home property, seeking permission to build 4 houses. Our small neighborhood has been like that for over 50 years with small acre tracts, with single-family homes, with the ability to farm. That was the purpose of the neighborhood since the inception of Socorro. Allowing this rezoning, 4 houses in a small space will only attract low-income families. We all lived in Socorro enough to know that lower socioeconomic residents usually add more trash to the environment, to our neighborhood, and are less likely to clean up the street. Also, this will add more noise to the neighborhood, for which for many years has provided peace and quiet to the residents that we've all lived there for over 30 years. 4 houses is going to mean more cars, more traffic through our quiet street. For so long, we requested speed bumps to reduce traffic, cutting through between North Loop and Horizon to avoid the intersection. Finally, about 3 years ago, we got the speed bumps. By rezoning, it's just gonna take a step backwards, more cars again. And so, more homes, very likely 3 cars per home. That's a minimum of 12 cars just in through our neighborhood. In addition, our small neighborhood still provides a safe haven for nature and wildlife, because behind our neighborhood is the canal right here and the Texas A&M Research Center. It's a very large open space. We still have a diverse amount of animals that trek through our neighborhood. Yards such as coyotes, skunks, quail, snakes, an occasional fox, and roadrunners. And so rezoning and allowing for more houses is only going to contribute to the demise of this habitat. The current neighbors live in harmony with these animals because we understand their needs. So I come to you and my neighbors to ask you today not to change the zoning and leave it as is, as a single family property, the way it was always meant to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez, if you could step up, and if you have 3 minutes, and if you can clarify your name for us. Y si nos puede dar su nombre, por favor.
Okay. De acuerdo con lo que ella dijo. Okay. De acuerdo con lo que ella dijo, I don't feel good that somebody over there live in this neighborhood, because the neighborhood is pretty quiet, and I'm 87 years old, and I live for 25 years in there, and everything is real slow. We don't have no problem with the neighbors, and I don't want nobody else over there get those houses in this place. This is the only way we can live like I always live for these last years. That's the reason I come over and talk to you. I don't want nobody else over there, because it's not a neighbor. It's a neighborhood. It's not a city. And that's what I came over here to talk to you. I'm not feel good to somebody else come and try to fill 3 houses in 1 acre, the land. What's going to happen later on? I don't know what was going to live there. I don't know if I get somebody over there not you know, get to get it. And I'm afraid somebody else. I'm an old man, and I don't like that place. Somebody build houses in there. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez, you have 3 minutes, and if you can, please clarify your name for us.
My name is Joe Bob Martinez. I'm a long-term resident here. I've been about 45 years, 50 years. Also, I was the chief of police here back in 1994 to 2000. So I know the neighborhood, I know my neighbors. They're all good neighbors. You know, we treat each other right with respect. And I just can't see 4 houses. I mean, they're gonna be right next to me. I mean, I'm right there, and the fence line is right there, you know, so they're gonna have the houses right there. My kids went to Socorro High School. Of course, I grew up, and I got 10 grandbabies now. So they all come over to the house, you know, and we celebrate. And I can imagine how that neighborhood would be with 4 houses and all the cars. You know, we don't even have sidewalks. You know, I don't know if y'all planning on putting sidewalks and repay the road or whatever, but I just can't see those houses being built there. Like Claudia says, you know, we have a lot of different animals come through there, you know, like squirrels. We enjoy it, you know. But if that's the case, you know, then if y'all rezone, then I have to be looking for something else, because I can't stand there with 4 houses, you know, and that's the way I feel, you know. And I retired, and, you know, I worked Lowe's Home Improvement, and I enjoy it there, and we love it, you know. So hopefully y'all consider it, think about it, and see what y'all can come up with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Arroyo, is there anyone that would like to speak? Mr. Arroyos?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Josue Baquera. I'm here to get the approval for the multi-family houses. I just want to talk about some of the benefits of building multi-family houses. Maybe the most obvious one would be the economic benefits. For most people, rent is one of the biggest expenses they have to pay, so spending more money on rent would help boost the economy in the city of Socorro. It would also bring job opportunities for the people who have to build the houses, for the people who have to paint them, which would also help boost the economy in the end. It would also help improve small businesses, as in they would get more people to be there, more people to buy their goods, which would in the end improve the economy. So I'm asking for your approval for this request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Faith Baquera, and I would like to ask for your approval for these homes. When we think of apartments, we think of them as disgusting, overcrowded, they bring in traffic, all the bad things, but we want to focus on the benefits here. So there's a certain amount of population that we can reach, and we will receive grants for them, so these grants can help us build parks, improve our streets, build sidewalks, etc. It just helps a lot, the population. But I'm asking you to please approve, and let's focus on the pros instead of the cons. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak? Mr. Arroyos?
So we will close public hearing at 5:44.
Moving on to item number 6, consider and take action on the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Block 1, Lot 1, Horn Subdivision, Block 1, Lot 2, Horn Subdivision, Block 1, Lot 3, Horn Subdivision, and Block 1, Lot 4, Horn Subdivision, located at 10678, 106 10682, and 10684 Horn Circle, Socorro, Texas, from R1 Single Family Residential to R2 Medium Density Residential. Mr. Gallinar?
Thank you, Yadira. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, Carlos Gallinar, good evening. Good to see you all. Hope you're doing well. So obviously, this is an item that is probably not a slam dunk, right? Probably not an scenario in which you could say, hey, unlike other rezonings that we brought to you where it's very clearly defined, R1 to R2 for a duplex, sort of makes sense. I'm going to walk you through at least the planning and zoning and the staff's recommendation of approval and why that might make sense on a strictly land use issue, right? We cannot speak as a staff or maybe even as a committee to the economics or the, you know, the type of individuals that are going to go there, just like I cannot advocate for rich people to live in certain neighborhoods. I cannot advocate for poor people or presumed to be poor people or lower income people to live in a certain neighborhood, right? This is strictly on a land use zoning basis, and I'm going to walk you through that in just a second. But as part of the information, so again, typical for our presentations, this is a R1 it is a single family residential parcels. There's 4 of them. It's about 2 acres in size. The addresses are all on Horn Circle, so they're consecutive parcels of land. The future land use map, which we also look at as one of many things to look at, does have this as high density residential, so that's number 1, right? It's not low density, it's not farmland, unlike other future land use map designations. This is high density residential, as at least whomever did the comp plan 8 years ago identified this area as high density residential. The land use is currently vacant. The proposed land use is for multifamily residential. I do want to clarify for the benefit of the folks that did speak, they would be building apartments and not just the 2 duplexes per unit. There's a total of 26 units that are being proposed through the rezoning. And the request is to approve the rezoning from R1 to R2, to allow for apartments. Staff is recommending approval, and then we're also adding the condition that if you choose to vote on this or choose to approve it, that you also vote for it with the site plan that has been attached to the application. And again, I'm going to walk you to that in just a second. So here's the location. So again, near North Loop, near Horizon Boulevard. There are, other parcels adjacent to it, obviously. Here's the zoning map. And so can staff point to the 4 parcels? It's that sort of, next to the M2. Yep, no, más para arriba. There we go. So those are the 4 parcels, right? So let's just spend a little bit of time on the zoning classification. So again, if this had been, keep in mind, if this had been a zoning map that was all yellow, right? All yellow being R1, and here comes the staff recommending approval for an apartment complex in the middle of the block and in the middle of what is a clearly defined single-family residential. I think that you would say, hey, Carlos, it probably doesn't make sense. And that is 100% correct. In this case, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, it's an area that has a mix of different zoning districts, right? So you have all along North Loop, less than about 100 yards from these parcels, C2, which is heavy commercial. You have M2 next to these different parcels. You have C1 as well along on the corner of Horn and North Loop. You do have some A1s, agricultural, which are not necessarily from a land use perspective, not agricultural. I believe at least 2 of those A2s on Horn Circle have mobile homes. And then the parcels in the back are owned by the state of Texas, the AgriLife extension. Those, at least in our estimation, will never get rezoned, will never get developed because they are part of the state of Texas, part of the land that we're in currently as well. So again, when you look at it from a perspective of zoning and land use, you're introducing what could be a multifamily apartment complex in an area that does not have a clearly defined land use. It does not have a clearly defined zoning district. It's not R1, it's not R2, it's not C1, it's not C2, it's not M1, it's not M2, right? So from our perspective, when somebody comes in and says, hey, we want to change the land use or the zoning, from the perspective of adjacent land uses, again, closer to North Loop, closer to a commercial hub, Apartments tend to fall in a spectrum of commercial versus residential. They fall more on a commercial land use. And so from our perspective, the recommendation is based on, again, the future land use map has this as high density residential. And then from a zoning perspective, you're introducing an R2 to an area that might be compatible with an area that doesn't have a defined, right? Again, if somebody came in here and asked for an M1, M2, we would probably look at that as well, right? Because there are M2s adjacent to it. Although you can't rezone that to it anymore, but if someone said ICMUD, or if somebody came in and asked for a C1 or a C2, again, I think it's an area that could go either way in terms of what the potential land use could be. So anyhow, just want to share that's sort of the point of view that we bring to the table when we look at these things. The next slide shows the property picture. So again, it's currently vacant. I drove by there this week, and I drove by there today. There are some tractor trailers. There's some perhaps some construction debris that's on the site. I think that's temporarily, but that one wouldn't be the long-term, or shouldn't be actually the long-term use for that land. It's zoned for residential use. Here is the aerial image. Here's the public notice. So obviously by state law, we are required to notify neighbors, and that process worked. We do have several neighbors voicing opposition here today. And then here's the site plan. And so I also wanted to, the reason that we're asking for the condition is because as is written by the code of the city of Socorro, there is no guidance or laws or regulations that say you have to submit a detailed site plan, right? That is something that when we talk to the applicant, so let's just say, for example, the applicant doesn't submit a detailed site plan and they're going from R1 to R2. All the code says is that you are allowed a maximum of 15 units per acre. An R2 duplex, triplex, quadruplex, and apartments up to 15 units per acre. That's all the code says, right? So in working with the applicants, and I think you've seen us sort of offer this in previous cases, is we want to see what you're going to build, right? So we're not just going to allow you to build apartments without the commission, the public, the staff, city council perhaps, looking at what they're going to build. So the detailed site plan that is provided by the applicant, if you choose to vote in favor of this, would be what they would have to build. They can't deviate. They can't come back and say, hey, Carlos, we're not going to build the landscaping. We're not going to build the playground. We're not going to build the pond in the middle that could serve as a little park. We're not going to build the sidewalk. So all these things are part of the site plan. That again, it's the sort of the quid pro quo, and I use that in the clearest sense of the word. Right? You're asking the city to have more density and more units. In return, we're asking you to increase landscaping. We're asking you to build the sidewalks. We're asking you to make it a good quality development as part of because the regulations don't allow it. So as part of us adding an additional condition, that is why you see the condition saying that if it does pass, they cannot deviate from a detailed site plan. They cannot come back with something different, right? This is what they would have to build. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, I know it's you have members of the public that have valid concerns, but from a land use perspective, that is sort of our point of view. Again, I cannot speak to the type of people that are going to live there. It may not be low-income people. It might be rich people. And I don't know that matters in our estimation, just in terms of being able to provide housing for whomever wants to live in the city of Socorro.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
This parcel looks familiar, and I guess if you can maybe jog our memory, and I'm thinking that this parcel we approved a lot split some time ago. It may have been before you came on board.
Yes, sir.
But this parcel looks very familiar. Can you give us a little bit of history on that?
I don't have it because I wasn't here. I'm not sure if the property owners can speak to the history of this parcel, if it had been rezoned or not.
Can we ask the owners a couple questions?
There's a question for the owners.
May you please state your name?
Juan Carlos Baquera, Senior.
The question is, sir, if this was been rezoned or...
Yes, originally when we bought it, it was 2 2 lots with the same address, and we turned it into 4.
Okay, so I'm thinking that it was 2 parcels, and we approved these 2 parcels to be split. Each parcel was split into 2 lots, so now we have 4 lots. Do you guys remember? Were you guys here? Does this?
Do you remember how long ago it was? I'm gonna say that it was 2020, the year 2020.
I don't think, I think I was
Does
just,
it look familiar? Does it look familiar? Okay. So, okay, so this is the correct property, this is the one I had in mind. So I'm thinking that back then, my thoughts would have been, and I can't speak for the rest of the commission, but obviously it was approved as a lot split. My thoughts back then, if we'd have been presented with a proposal for apartments, I don't think we would have, if at all, I don't see that commission at that time would have approved it. I know I wouldn't have, but it's a different commission now. I just wanted to point out that, so 4 years ago, we were approached, we voted on the lot split, but it stayed as an R1 back then, correct? And now we're being asked to rezone from R1 to R2. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So the lot split was done 4 years ago, from 2 parcels to 4 parcels, and now we're being asked to go from R1 to R2, and then R2 allows what?
Yes, sir, the R2 allows that's why they're requesting it for multifamily. And then just to clarify though, and again, I wasn't here, the lot splits typically have to do with the subdivision plat. They would have to come back and replat because you cannot have more than one structure on a single lot.
They would have to come back and replat, so that's already been done
No, sir, that has not been done.
for the replatting, but.
They would have to
but
replat.
the parcels have been split into 4.
Yes, sir, correct. The parcels are currently how they have been presented to you.
Okay,
Yes,
at
sir.
4, but the subdivision needs to be replatted.
If it's approved for the rezoning, they still have to do a subdivision replat to make 4 into one big lot.
And to make the 4 lots, so it would be going from 4 lots back to 1 large parcel. With a
Again, I don't know what was presented to you 2 or 3 years ago, so I can't speak to that, but it would go from 4 lots to 1 lot.
To 1 lot.
Yes, sir, correct.
How long have you owned the property?
2 years.
Is it the traffic, is it a one-way, or does it have 2 lanes for going for one?
2 lanes.
So just basically like a tractor road, single road going one way?
Yes.
I'm very familiar with this area.
you can put it.
Sorry, sorry guys.
Okay, so I'm very familiar with this area, and the road as it is right now has no curb, has no gutter, has no sidewalk. I believe this is on-site ponding. I do use it as a shortcut sometimes from Horizon to North Loop, depending on the traffic. Sorry, guys. I don't think you have speed bumps, do you? No, you do? Okay, so I'll probably stop using it because of the speed bumps. But the road itself, I guess, let's say this doesn't get approved, where does the city stand as far as road improvements?
So again, when they come in for the subdivision, for the plat, they will have to make improvements. So part of what the detailed site plan shows, it shows sidewalks, it shows a landscaping strip, typical with what you would see with sort of new subdivision improvements. You can only require a developer to do their proportionate share. You cannot require them to do the whole street. So if the subdivision comes back and there's easement or whatnot, they would have to widen the street at least the section that belongs to them. So part of the subdivision plat would have us look at those things. But at the very minimum, I could tell you that we would require the sidewalks, and we would require the landscaping median on the land strip, not on the street, right? There's no median on the street. The parkway on the front, correct, to have landscaping. The other thing too that I wanted to point it out, we required as part of the site plan, this is why it's important that you approve it. This is why it's important that you approve the condition, that we required the buffer of trees around the whole area that's abutting at someone else's property. But anyhow, that's just sort of the things that we would look at when they come in for the subdivision plan.
If we were to approve this item, would the residents have sidewalks?
No.
No?
No, the residents, no ma'am, the only portion that would have a sidewalk is the portion that would have a subdivision plat. Now, as plats come in, and I don't remember if all the parcels are in tract form, or there may be some that are in subdivision form. But if they're in tract form, as they come in for development, we would require them to have sidewalks.
Anything else?
Do I have a,
How big is all four parcels together? Is it the 1.87?
1.9, sir, yeah. About 1.9.
So, one is I can definitely appreciate the public coming in and giving us both sides. One is the owner, and then two is the neighbors. From what I could see on my map, it's not very far from the major arteries.
Correct.
And in my opinion, North Loop and Horizon are the biggest arteries that we have to develop. I could definitely understand and see the point of the neighbors. You know, it's been a vacant lot. We can appreciate the vacant lot. We don't have to deal with neighbors. I'm definitely concerned with it being 26 units.
You weren't told that.
But I am in favor of developing lots that have been empty for 30 years. I am in favor of making these tough decisions, and I think that they are gonna be difficult. And there's gotta be, we have to take advantage of these parcels to subdivide them, increase them in value, take advantage of the tax revenue, and that are gonna affect the entire city of Socorro. So I can definitely understand the neighbors, but I'm gonna vote yes on this. That's what I would say.
Make a motion?
If there's nobody else that's gonna speak on the item? I make a motion to approve with, with staff recommendations that, that the owners keep true to the site plan.
Correct.
I second.
I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros to approve with staff recommendation to stay true to the
Just-
site
Yeah,
plan,
just to approve the condition, to approve the detailed site plan.
to approve the detailed site plan, and second by Andrew Arroyos. Do I have a? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Nay.
No.
Any nays?
No.
Nay.
You have 2 nays.
Any abstain?
So the question for Marwan, if you have a essentially no recommendation, does it still go to city council?
Yeah, so it still goes to city council.
Okay.
So it's still, you need a majority of the quorum present.
Okay.
So you need 3 over 1. And actually, we need to know that 1 did abstain due to conflict of interest.
And just as a point of clarification, the vote needs to happen 3 times without a no vote in order for it to go to council as a no vote, if I remember it correctly.
There's another procedure where somebody wants to bring it back and discuss it again and then reconsider the vote. I think that's what you're talking about.
If I remember correctly, and I might be wrong, it's when something is either approved or when something is approved and it wants to be brought back, somebody that approved it has to be part of the resolution to bring it back to the commission. If I remember correctly, because we've had a number of difficult cases very similar to this, where it wasn't approved and it wasn't declined. So then it came back to the commission, and then we discussed it some more, and there could be some changes made. Another vote goes again, and again, I might be wrong on this. I don't think I am, but if it if there's not a yes or no vote, it would still go to city council as a no vote. But I think,
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
I'm pretty sure that's the case. But we can also table it for the next meeting just to get some more clarification.
So, yeah, I mean, to answer that, that's on a motion to reconsider an item that's already come up. So like this item that just came up, it was voted on, does not pass, so the record then reflects that it didn't pass, there wasn't a quorum for it. But yes, it can be brought back by by commissioner, that voted in favor of it, bring it back again and vote on it again. But in the meantime, city council doesn't have to sit there and, it can't sit somewhere indefinitely.
Correct. So with that said, then I'd like to bring it back to commission and see if there's a scenario where we can either give city council a yes vote or a no vote. That would be my motion.
Is there a possible way that we can go back a little bit? The reason I don't like it is because I think it's not, the street is not ready to be capable of an emergency. 26 apartments is a lot.
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
could just imagine all the chaos that will cause there. People would be trapped.
You may, I'm sorry, you make a good point. There was a large fire.
You need to speak in the
Ma'am.
microphone. And you need to allow her to speak, suspend the rules.
On what you just said.
Ma'am, you go
You need
ahead.
to give him a minute, please.
Okay, so there was a large fire early this year, right here. The fire department could not get in. They tried in the canal. The truck almost fell in the canal or over the edge. They had to extend from North Loop, from a fire hydrant, all the way. They tried different ways to get into right where that property is, right there. And they couldn't because the infrastructure doesn't allow it. So, I mean, now you're thinking, I mean, if 26, we're asking for another, another hazard or another emergency where the city can't handle it. As it is, they couldn't handle that one, and so, because there was no way for it to get, and it just burned and burned and burned.
Thank you.
That sounds scary.
Okay, so I agree on the road issue. I would consider, I guess, changing my vote if it was, if it was less on the number of units.
I agree too.
It's 26 units. I
Yep.
think you did a good presentation on.
Yes, sir.
On the zoning and what's there right now and all the different, I think you're correct. But 26 units on, mathematically, I think it fit.
So Mr. Chair, can I give a recommendation?
Yes, sir.
So and again, the applicant doesn't have to agree, but you may want to table it. So again, I think your recommendation should be considered. I just get a little bit nervous when we start making changes to someone's site plan from the dais, right, from here without them thinking through it. So the applicant may say, hey, no, listen, I'm going to take my chances at city council and I'm going to roll the dice. Maybe. Or he could say, let me listen to what the commissioner said and maybe decrease the density, maybe meet with the neighbors. That's only my recommendation, but again, you're the ones that are voting on it.
Can I retract my motion?
No, so that item already was voted on, right?
Yeah, and so, and I have the bylaws in front of me, I'll read it to you guys, and it'll answer some of the questions
Okay.
you guys have. And so, and I'll kind of read it word for word, right, it's a little bit long, but. Okay, so the bylaws state, the voting members shall be authorized to reconsider any item prior to the expiration of the meeting in which the item was heard or decision made. So that means that this item that was just voted on, you could bring another motion again right now before the meeting ends today if you want to do that again. A motion to reconsider prior to the expiration of such meeting shall be made by any voting member who voted on the prevailing side of the agenda item. So, well, in this case, there wasn't really a winning side, but it says that whichever side won on the motion can bring it back again. So, had it been 3 yeses and 1 no, one of the people that voted 3 yeses could open up the item again. In this case, I don't think there was really a prevailing side on that. It also says that reconsider reconsideration of items after the expiration of the meeting where a vote deciding the item is taken is only available within 60 days following the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at which a final vote was taken. And it says, but unless otherwise directed by City Council. City Council can,
Yeah.
you can open it up to 60 days after today. But if City Council acts on it in the meantime, then that's it.
And I do remember that part as a reconsideration part of the bylaws, but there's another part that I'm thinking of, and I don't have them in front of me, where when something isn't passed or failed, I think we can take up to 3 votes on it, and we have done that previously. The last one that comes to mind was with when Socorro High School had that big development.
There's another part that says that an item may not, this might be the part that you're thinking about, an item may not be reconsidered twice except by 2/3 consent of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So you can, it was considered once, you guys consider it again a second time.
Yeah.
And only, may not be considered twice except by 2/3. So 2/3 of you would have to reopen it right now.
Okay.
Motion to revisit, we open discussion, 3 out of 4 right now.
That's right.
And then we can discuss like the motion.
Well, I'm not saying that I'm in favor, I just wanted to have more questions towards the applicant.
To reopen it, right?
Right.
So-
You do have to reopen it to ask the
Yeah.
questions.
So I'd
That's
like to
right.
make a motion and ask the other commissioners to open it up so that we can give the public, give the owner, give city council a yes or no vote, and they know what they're gonna go and present to, both sides can know what to present to the city.
A second.
So just to reopen it. I know it's long-winded, sorry.
I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros to reopen the item, and second by David Estrada. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any
Bi-
abstain?
Mr. Gainat, quick question. So this is kind of like a conceptual plan, right, of what, well, not conceptual, but,
It would not be conceptual if you added the condition.
right,
That's why that's why you have to tie it, that's why it's our recommendation that you tie it to the rezoning, so that they don't come back and say,
Right.
we want to do, so remember, the density is 15 units per acre, so they're at the density, I think they're a little bit less than what they might be able to do. I think they might be able to do 28 or 29. They're at 26. Again, but totally within your discretion and within your purview to create more conditions. I believe as long as they're not like a taking, right?
Right.
You can require him to do something that is overboard
Right.
a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So you
Right.
you can impose a condition to lower the density. You can impose a condition to have more landscaping. Those are things that you can do as part of your recommendation to city council.
now on this one, the way I'm looking at it, they fall within the fire code. I'm assuming if this is what we stick with and they do come back or whatnot, it'll fall within the fire code, it'll fall within the building ordinances, they'll be within
Yes, sir. So
everything that they have to meet, right?
yes, so this is the rezoning. They have to do the plat. They have to submit construction drawings. And construction drawings, we would review as per the IBC 2015, whatever the fire code requires, they would have to abide by.
Correct.
I think maybe if I were to Carlos, so you're saying that it would come back to planning and zoning twice more for preliminary plat?
Yeah, oh, well, it would come back twice. It would come back once more. After this item, it would come once more. Number one, because it's a replat.
Oh, okay.
It's already platted, so it's a replat just to essentially delete the lot lines.
Okay.
It's not a,
Just one, yeah.
just one time. Yeah, it's a replat. There's no preliminary final, correct.
Yes, Mr.
Can I address the public, the neighbors? I'd like to make a quick statement. And, but I want to let you guys know, as far as the neighbors, that we see this often. We're all native to Socorro, I believe. We've been here for many, many years. And this has happened to
And I understand increasing the revenue, the tax revenue. Socorro is a small community. It is, and so we keep adding houses and more houses and apartments, and it's good. Really, where my opinion is, we want to increase the tax revenue is, let's invite commercial businesses in the major arteries. Horizon City, look at them, look, something they're doing different than us, and we stay small. We've had opportunities, you know, for Amazon, perhaps to have built just south in a piece of, you know, but whatever it is, we fail. And we just want to fill every possible space with more houses and more apartments. It's a very small income tax bracket that houses add. It's not that much. We have a business on Horizon. We have an adult daycare where the Domino's Pizza is. We own that. My family owns that piece of building. And so we contribute as a commercial to the tax base. Now, my property, which is also 2 acres, my parents own the one next to me where there's pecan trees and we have water rights for many years. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna use, you know, Esteban here. We had scouts for plus 10 years. We had campouts, we had archery, we had family, all sorts of events in the yard. It looks so nice because of the way that the ranch style is, the neighborhood, and kids will come and enjoy with the scouts. And so this just doesn't go with like little house, big apartments, which nowhere in the letter that we got, we were just thinking, oh, 4 houses. I mean, but we're shocked, 26 units, you know.
Thank you.
So,
Thank
okay.
I'd just like to say, David, I feel, I mean, I've been a long-time resident here in Socorro, and yes, you know, Socorro's growing, you know, and it's gonna continue to grow. And I know that we all want more businesses to come, more commercial restaurants. But unfortunately, you know, with that to happen, we've gotta grow. And I just, that's my opinion. Sir, we're gonna, yes, sir, we've had our okay, thank you. Unfortunately, I think that's the way Socorro's going, and the land has been there for 30 years plus, and it's been vacant, and I'm a little familiar with it, and, you know, there's also weeds that unfortunately aren't too good to look at a lot of times or whatnot, but I don't know, that's how I feel. Mr. Estrada.
Are you willing to compromise in decreasing the density?
Yes, yes. You know, my intention is not to bring division. The neighbor right next door, Joe Bob, he's been great to us. He's helped us. He has the key to the gate. Not our intention to bring division. In fact, we can remove one of the buildings toward his side if it makes it any better. Add landscape or rearrange maybe the site plan.
What's the minimum number of units that would work for you?
That's a hard decision. You know, we can bring it down to 22. The fire that happened was actually on the Texas state side, so it was hard for the fire engine to get in there. But there's no roads to that, no access to that, other than through the farmland back here.
I've got a quick question. If this were to get developed, I'm assuming lower for the plants or whatnot, you'd probably be putting in a fire, you call it sprinkler? Not the fire sprinkler, the fire hydrants. You'd be required to do so many per unit or whatnot, so that would be a plus, right?
There's already one there.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, I believe it's 200 feet, linear feet from the property. If it's further than that, it would require them to put it, that would come at the subdivision replat phase. Okay. Yes, sir.
So they would just have one?
It depended, go ahead.
So, And I'll address the public as well. We've been very lucky that the majority of the board has been here for at least 2, almost going on 3 years. I'm on the other side of the spectrum as a Socorro resident. We've been here just shy of 5 years, right? So unfortunately, we got here as soon as we could, right? But there is that spectrum of residents on this board that have been here, that grew up here, and then those that just got here. And we have to, in my opinion, I think both voices need to be heard. And the beautiful thing is that's why this is a voluntary community member board. And I think that's what's great about this, and we've made it work very well. What I would say, and just to make everybody aware, is when the city, as future planning, when they say 15 units per acre in high density, when we vote on it, it'll go to city council. When city council votes on it, the property owner, and correct me, Mr. Marwa, if I'm wrong, the property owner can go to court and demand, they would have a case to make sure that that they can make an argument in front of the court to where their density can be 15 units per acre, if I remember that correctly.
Yeah, so there's always, any applicant that if they're not happy with the process through P&Z or city council, the last stop is always judicial review, which is they can go file a lawsuit for and it might be for whatever claim they may have. But yeah, that's always a possibility.
And I think that's why they have a voluntary community member commission, and then it goes to city council, which is ultimately elected, and both sides of, residential spectrum are heard on this commission. And I completely agree with Mr. Estrada that whenever we can work together and have a number that not only we as a commission vote yes or no on it, goes to city council, and in this situation that the property owner is willing to work with that, I think that it gives us as a commission, the property owner and the neighbors, what's the saying in politics? If nobody's happy, then we did okay. But I would say if the property owner is willing to work on it and cut it down by 4 units, I don't know how you all feel, but I would make that motion and vote on it.
Okay, so I'm thinking a compromise, if it's 26 units proposed, I think a compromise on the number of units just be closer to half. 17, maybe 18. And I don't see myself changing my vote unless there's a proposal closer to that. Going from 26 to 20 units, 22 units, I think it's just for this particular neighborhood, it's just too many units. The size of the road, the width, the infrastructure just on that road going from Horizon to North Loop, it's just not there. It's a very nice, very rural, rustic neighborhood. I mean, I agree 100%, but it is mixed use, so I'm not opposed to putting apartments in there. I just can't swallow the more than 20 units on there right now. But that's where my vote will be.
How's the infrastructure, the water infrastructure, would it be able to support?
So Ms. Dominguez, I don't know. It may be an area that is, so let me say this. I don't know. It may be an area that is serviced by septic tanks. But again, this is part of the rezoning, right? So it's sort of the first step that a developer takes. The due diligence on the infrastructure comes when we do the replat or the plat. So if there isn't infrastructure there, it's the property owner's responsibility to pay to connect to the nearest water line, sewer line. That may be I'm almost sure there's some in North Loop or Horizon. There may not be any on Hearn Circle. I really don't know. But if there isn't, then he would be required to pay for that infrastructure connection, whichever one is closest.
I would think the utilities are all available. Whether it's adequate, you know, sizing wise, I have no idea, but, yeah, but they are available within reach.
Right, and if they had to be improved, he would be responsible for the
responsible.
improvements.
So I'd like to make a motion. So my motion would be to approve with 21 units, which would be one less than the property owner had mentioned himself. Definitely more than the 18, but how do I say that?
So, you want to take a stab at it?
Because it would require, anything less than what was submitted would require a revised site plan, which then would have to be submitted.
And then pre-approved.
Yeah, to city council, and then you would need time to go comply and do it, and probably would pay somebody to go do it, an engineer or something. And so, unless the applicant here today in the meeting agrees, is you want to clarify with the applicant what they would agree to, if they're okay with that? Because otherwise, if it gets rejected, then they just, or if we say, look, I'll do 17 or 18, but not anything more, then it gets rejected tonight, so then he has to go back.
Yeah.
But the problem is that if he goes and pays an engineer again to go do it, and then it doesn't pass next time, but he thought that you promised 17 or 18, then whoever votes no next time, then he's out with money again. So that's why you want to make it clear that if the applicant agrees to it, that's what's being voted on tonight, that's being approved, but then a revised site plan will be resubmitted to planning and zoning.
And
I think that's the only way to.
And then what would happen is, how does city council navigate that? They either vote yes or no, and then he has to start all over again?
Yeah, so they would look at the request for the rezoning, and then, Carlos usually then submits it from here to city council, places it on the agenda.
Yeah.
So there would just be time for it then to consider it, or they can put conditions on it or modify it themselves, I mean. When it goes to city council, everything kind of starts new again, so they can accept or reject it, modify it.
So then let me retract that motion. So what I want to give not only the owner but the residents is something that they can go and then they know what they're going to city council, right? I, as a business owner, I also have a business on Horizon Boulevard. I want to control the controllables. I want to know what the measurables are. I want to know what the actionables are. So whatever we vote on, whether it's yes or no, if it's a no, then I think we should just leave it like that and let city council work with that, because I think and of course, the business owner has to be in favor of it, because unfortunately, this is just a civilian oversight committee. You still have to go to city council where there's the actual citizen approval. They've been voted on, they've been voted into their offices, so they're the final word. So my question would be, because I'm willing to make the motion, I don't know if it'll get approved or not, and it's horrible to put you on the spot, but unfortunately, that's where we're at. If it were to be approved today, would you be willing to go down to 22 units? I mean, 21, excuse me, 21 units.
You know, I live down the street. I'm a resident here. I was raised here by Escontria School. I left Socorro because I wanted sidewalks in 2006 when I got married. I came back. We've been here since 2017. I live down the street. I think when we use the word apartments, I think it scares everybody. I don't want to build just anything that's going to hinder our community. We want to build something nice, and yes, I'm willing to go down to 21 if it makes everybody happy.
So I'd like to make a motion with the participation of, or the agreement of the owner, to approve or approve a modified site plan.
Yes, sir.
With totaling no more than 21 units, which if he decides to make less, he can make less, but no more than 21 units. That's my motion for approval.
I make a motion to second.
I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros to approve with the condition that owner agrees to modify site plan.
With no more than
with no more than 21 units. All those, any seconds? No. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays?
I'm sorry. I can't come to bring it into it. I'm sorry.
So with the motion failing, then we move on to the next one?
Yeah.
And
And Marwan, does it or does not go to council?
Yeah, so it does go to council, so, and I'm looking at this again, the item on not bringing it back twice, that's only after the meeting. So, you know, you can bring it back actually a few times in the meeting today until it
Yeah.
ends. But then after today, you can't bring something back from 3
Well,
months ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
No,
you
no.
can bring it back 6 days ago,
Yeah.
why, unless the council,
Votes on
let's
it.
say next week they act on it,
Yeah.
it's done, it's.
Well, for me, I won't vote, I won't make a motion to bring it back, because I think that, we're too far away. What I would say is, I'm sure city council will watch the video. What I would urge city council, and I think one of the bigger problems that we're seeing today is there are 2 vacancies on this board. So I would, because we can't get a yes, because we can't get a no, then I would ask city council to appoint the 2 people that were, or the 2 open positions that we're missing, so that whatever comes out of commission, it's more likely to be a yes or a no. Not because we want to push it through or because we want to block it, but we want to give not only the business owner, we want to give the residents a resolution to know what they're going, you know, what they're presenting at city council. But
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next item, right? Yes, thank you. And then I think for the public, we do have your information, so I believe this is going to city council. I believe it's going to council on January 6th, but I have your information, so we have your emails. Yeah, you can do that. Thank you all.
Motion failed. Moving on to item number 7, public hearing request for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of,
just as a point of clarification, Mr. Marwa, does the motion fail or is it a no vote? Because it didn't fail and it didn't pass.
Well, it didn't pass, so it just failed.
Then would it be a no pass? Well, I mean, I'll defer to you.
It just failed, right?
Okay. Thank you, sorry about that.
yes, moving on to item number 7, public hearing request for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Block 3 Socorro Track 4-C-16 located at 793 Horizon Boulevard, Socorro, Texas, from R-1 Single Family Residential to C-2 General Commercial. Mr. Arroyos?
Afternoon, we open public hearing at 6:34.
Anyone that would like to speak? May you state your name, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay. My name is Evan Kuhn. I live down 800 Spark Circle here. What I'd like to know is, what are they going to put on that address? You have 793 Horizon Boulevard. They're going to make it commercial, so what are they going to put there?
Mr.
Right now.
Gallinar, do
Huh?
you have any answers for him?
I do have a whole presentation.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I know it's going to change because it's off of Horizon Boulevard. Well, I'd like to know what they're putting there
Okay.
because right now there's a junkyard.
I
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak? Mr. Arroyos?
We will close public hearing at 6:35.
Moving on to item number 8, consider and take action on the proposed amendment of the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Block 3 Socorro Track 4-C-16 located at 793 Horizon Boulevard, Socorro, Texas, from R-1 Single Family Residential to C-2 General Commercial. Mr. Gallinar?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, Carlos Gainat for the record. So this is another rezoning not too far from Horn Circle on Horizon Boulevard. So as part of the information, so it is zone R1, single-family residential. It is a little bit less than an acre, about 39,421 square feet. Address is on 793 Horizon Boulevard. The future land use map has this as commercial. The land use is vacant, although not quite. There are some junk cars, and there is a structure there. Not 100% sure if it's occupied, but if, you know, for intended purposes, it is a dilapidated vacant parcel. The proposed land use is commercial development. The request is to allow the C2. What the applicant, and I want to clarify this, what the applicant has stated is that they want to build a bakery with a commercial center on there. However, keep in mind that when you rezone a parcel of land, you are allowing all the different uses under C2. So that may be the intention, and that's what they're stating to us, but they could sell it, they could, 5 years from now, anyone else could occupy it, and it could be, and I'm happy to list those items for the gentleman in just a second. So even though they're stating it's for a bakery, and there is a site plan, so that's also part of the condition that we want to make sure that they're going to build what they're telling us to build. Again, part of the conversation we had earlier, that there is like a small retail center that they're building on the site. And staff is recommending approval. Again, I'll walk you through the zoning qualifications for this one as well. Here's the location map. So it does bifurcate both Horizon Boulevard and Sparks. And then it is on Tortugas. So it has frontage on 3 different streets. Here is the land use zoning, excuse me, not the land use, this is the zoning district. So again, fronting Horizon, many C2s, many C1s, some M1, some M2. So from a land use location perspective, that is what we're basing the recommendation on to allow the C2 on this parcel of land. Here is the pictures of the property. So as I stated, there are several junked cars on this parcel of land. There is a dilapidated home, or what appears to be a dilapidated home. Somebody might be living in there, but that is what's currently there. This aerial photograph shows that home in the middle, and that has been demolished. The one home that's still there is the one that's towards the back. Not sure if staff could point it out. Towards the right-hand corner, there's a structure there. So you see where it says 793 Horizon? That's no longer there. That structure is no longer, the one that's there is the one that's, yep, that's the one that's still there. And then public notice, again, we did send letters to surrounding property owners. We did receive a phone call asking questions. I believe it's the gentleman that's here today. Here is the site plan. It doesn't have a lot of detail, but this is what they provided. So again, if you choose to approve, we are asking for 2 conditions. One, that they stick to the detailed site plan that shows the structure, it shows the parking lot. And then the other condition that we're asking is that they do increase the landscaping. It's a conversation that I wasn't able to have with the applicant, but we do want to see more curb appeal. So anywhere there is frontage on Horizon, Tortugas, and Sparks, that they add additional landscaping. They will have to provide landscaping as part of the landscaping code. We just want them to go a little bit above and beyond what is required. So again, the summary of the request is to allow the rezoning from R1 to C2, a condition to approve the site plan, and then add additional landscaping. And then for the gentleman who asked the question, so if you were to rezone it to C2, again, this is any C1, any C2, this is specific to C2. These are the uses as per the code. All retail sales of goods and services conducted entirely within a building, as well as the incidental display of merchandise, wholly under permanent part of a main building, such as a marquee. Movie theaters, bowling alleys, skating rinks, pool tables, churches, post office, fire stations, libraries, and public buildings, offices, commercial kennels and veterinary clinics, cafes, restaurants, cafeterias, drive-through eating establishments, clubs, lodges without alcoholic beverages sold to members of the public, child care institutions, daycare centers, nursing homes, halfway houses, service establishments, including filling or service stations, ambulance service with or without storage of ambulances, spas, health studios, or fitness centers without outdoor activities, and then everything else that's allowed in under C1. So bakeries, restaurants, bars, sort of neighborhood commercial types of uses. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. There are some other uses that require conditional uses, so sometimes you'll see us come in front of you for rezoning to C2 plus a conditional use. That is a shopping center that is over 50,000 square feet, adult businesses, amusement parks, hospitals, college, universities, and then the big one that always comes is the motor vehicles. So anything having to do with motor vehicles, trucking, parking lots, oil changes, car washes, tire shops require the C2 and the conditional use permit. Happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chair.
I don't have any, did that kind of clarify, sir?
So as the site plan is outlined, they are showing ingress and egress from all three streets.
Okay.
There's an entrance here, there's an entrance here, and there's an entrance here.
Can you
Yes, sir,
put
there's
the-
an entrance on Horizon, sir.
Well, as a point of reference,
Part of the
is,
site plan.
is the
That's what they're
applicant here?
proposing. Yes, sir, correct.
Is the applicant here?
The applicant here? Sí, señor. ¿Es el suyo, no? Sí, señor, véngase.
Can you put the site plan? There it is.
Mr. Gallina, can you put that site plan for us? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there's a site plan.
¿Sí nos da su nombre?
A mí no me gusta hablar mucho, si no se puede, no. Voy a estar alegando cosas que...
No, señor, lo más como una pregunta, ¿van a poner una panadería allí?
Sí, si lo dejan, pues lo hacemos, y no, ahí lo dejamos.
It's okay.
David, go ahead. You have a question?
Okay, so, question, as far as access onto, I think it's Sparks and Horn,
Sí, señor, claro.
Si es que me están preguntando.
Question for me or question?
for you,
Yes,
yeah. As far as access onto, I think it's Horn and Sparks, those roads are, I mean, I don't know the exact width, but they seem to be narrow.
Yes, sir.
If this comes back, do you address that as far as accessibility from those roads?
So you can, as part of another condition limit, and we've done it before, there was a similar rezoning on Horizon that had frontage on Horizon, and then I believe it was Delilah. And so that one was a condition that we also recommended, that no access off of Delilah. In my estimation, it was a little bit different only because Delilah it was like a dirt road. Is a dirt road. In this case, sir, you can, and it might be a good condition to say no access off of Sparks. So when they come back, and this is how we check it, right? So there's conditions that are put on by you and City Council. When they submit construction drawings, that's where we make sure that there's no access on there. It's when we make sure of all these different things. So to answer your question, yes, you can, if you like to, say we don't want access off of Sparks.
Is there someone within the city that checks that though? Is there like a check somewhere along the way saying, okay, there's no, you can't make this radius here, these roads aren't wide enough, you can't have fire truck coming on?
We do that when we do the subdivision plat.
The subdivision plat.
It's when we check the infrastructure, right? This is strictly just land use. Can you or can you not allow something to be on the land? And if it's been platted, then we don't check it. It's, again, someone made the determination that that there's adequate infrastructure. And sometimes there isn't.
No other questions?
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve?
I second.
With the staff recommendation, sir? Or not. I mean,
Let me see.
I believe it's not on the backup, but I could go ahead and read it off.
Can you read it out loud, please?
Yes. I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros to approve with two conditions. Approve site plan and include additional landscaping along the street frontages. And second by Andrew Arroyos.
Well, let me, because I made a motion to approve, not with the conditions, but let me retract it and ask the business owner. Estamos por votar en la acción para ver si aprobarlo con dos condiciones. Una, que el edificio y la construcción que se vaya a llevar a cabo sea como está en el site plan, como está. If we can have staff put it on the
He has it right
monitor.
here. La pregunta es de que la condición sería, señor, que usted se comprometería a construir exactamente lo que ha presentado.
Sí. Y luego la segunda condición que está recomendando la oficina de Planning and Zoning sería de que agregara árboles, arbustos, algo que se viera bonito porque es avenida principal. Sí. Okay. So, yes, I'd like to make a motion for approval along with staff recommendations.
Okay. I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros to approve with staff recommendations, them being approved the site plan and include additional landscaping along the street frontages, and seconded by Andrew Arroyos. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Moving on to item number 9, consider and take action. Provide City Council with recommendations on amending Chapter 46 zoning, Article 4, District Regulations, Division 3, R-1, Single Family Residential District, Section 46-237, Conditional Use, Required Permit, by adding subsection 5, commercial vehicles. Mr. Gallina?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Good evening. Once again, I guess we have a bunch of controversial items tonight, but so this is an item that City Council had asked us, had directed staff to, as they can, it's within their purview, it's to direct staff to look at code amendments. And so this one in particular is one that City Council had asked us to review. As part of a little bit of background, there were several members of the public that came to City Council in subsequent meetings, 2 or 3 meetings, requesting the change to the ordinance. And so essentially, these are business owners that own semi-trucks, and they were asking for permission to be able to park their cab, not the cargo, but the cab in their residential lot. And so what is reflected on here are the items that when the conversation happened at City Council, that City Council sort of directed staff to look at. So, hey, listen, if you're going to change the code, these are the things that we would like to be included as part of the code. So I'm happy to read through you essentially what this is. So if you look at the zoning code under R1, by right, if you have an R1 zoning district, you're allowed to build a house tomorrow. You just bring in the construction drawings. There's no rezoning, there's no commission, you could go, you're free to go. You are allowed other uses under R1 with a conditional use permit. So again, similarly to what I just talked about under C2, under R1, you are allowed to build a church, hospital, school, a real estate sales office in connection with a specific development. You are allowed a recreational facility, nonprofit, such as a swimming pool, tennis club, and then a child care home. Those are all the things that you're allowed under R1. Single family residential, and these things through a conditional use permit. What City Council had asked us to look at is to add an additional use with a conditional use permit, essentially to allow these trucks to be able to park in R1 zoning districts. So if approved and this becomes law, somebody can park their semi-truck in an R1 with a conditional use permit, but they have to follow these conditions. So again, parking of commercial vehicles provided that the property on which the vehicle is parked consists of lots of 1/2 an acre or more in size. No mechanical work shall be allowed on such property. Vehicles must be parked on a concrete slab. The location of the slab cannot interfere with on-site ponding areas. Vehicles shall not idle for more than 15 minutes at any time. Only one vehicle may be allowed per lot. The vehicle must stay on site, and at no time shall it be parked on the public street or right-of-way, and then at no time shall tractor trailers be allowed to be stored on a residential lot. The definition of a tractor trailer is the cargo that goes behind the cab, the commercial vehicle. Happy to answer any questions.
I have a comment. I hate trucks. I don't hate the truckers, but I do hate the trucks. So we're a trucking town. We just are. Amazon, warehouses, everything that we're all in favor of, but parking in a residential neighborhood is not a good idea for me. It's just not. The lot size is really small. I think half acre, it's really small. I think we're opening a huge can of worms. Residential trucks driving down, small neighborhood streets. It's just a can of worms. I read this earlier. I just don't like it. I don't like trucks, but I don't mind the truckers. Okay.
So I love truckers. But we are a trucking town. Because of NAFTA, El Paso, Socorro, Clinton, we're always going to be a trucking town. The hard part about truckers, especially in Socorro, is because we do have a number of canals and the roadways that we have, and the steep inclines. We've talked about this previously with this commission. Two, from what I can remember, the city of Socorro right now actually, and please correct me, Mr. Gallinar, there's a permit that the city has available to residents that can ask for it, get it, so that they can park in residential houses. And if I remember correctly, the reason we had specifically created that permit was so that there was an ordinance, or there was a law that where tractor trailers or cabs could be ticketed, but we just weren't writing any. If I remember, at any point, please correct me if I'm remembering this incorrectly. So I think for a number of those reasons, one, we just don't have the canal streets would be heavily impacted if we don't make this. I think we need to make it harder. Not because I want to make it harder, not because we don't want trucks in the city of Socorro. It's just, one, it'd be a huge cost to the city if we have to make more frequent repairs to those canal streets. Two, there is a noise, side to the truck. And truck idling is very normal. And I would tell you that my dad's a trucker, and it's not, I think that's why you have a commission, that's why you have city council, that's why we address these things. Because at planning and zoning, we want to plan for these things. So I'm in complete agreement that 1/2 acre is, because for those that work in land development know better than I do, it's my understanding that you can build 3 6,000 square foot homes on 1 acre. So we're literally talking, even the small developments, 2 houses would equal more than 1/2 an acre. So that's how I'm picturing it in my head. We can make those changes. So if you had a change, I think I'd be open to it. But that's where I'm at.
I don't think there should be parking in any residential lot neighborhood. Whether it's acre lots, it should be zoned commercial. There should be specifically for that. I think as looking at it from somebody willing to purchase and invest in land and doing a parking lot for trucks in a commercial zone, there's a lot of land in Socorro and they would fill up quick. But zoned for that, not within any residential. I'm not in favor of it at all. I don't see changing this in any way to allow it within any residential, to allow big rig parking in any residential neighborhood or lot.
I agree.
It's just-
And if I remember correctly, whenever anything is zoned commercial, no, they can't spend the night there, right? Because it's zoned commercial, nobody can spend the night on there, something like that, to that effect, I remember?
So if typically, sir, if it's zoned like C1 or C2, you can't have single-family residential or apartments, therefore you can't spend the night, but you could have lodging, you could have hotels, so you can spend the night, but you can't have a single-family home in a C1 or C2.
And as a conditional use, anytime that anybody wants to apply for that, they have to come to the commission, they have to go to the city council, they have to get approval,
Yes, sir,
and then
that is
that's when it's
correct.
possible.
That
right?
is correct.
May I? I'm just concerned over the conditions that there's put in place of they're not able to change the oil in their property. God knows that somebody's gonna do it and they're just gonna pollute our water system. And that's one condition. And another thing is that I don't like is that possibly if the tractor trailer were to not work and it's gonna stay there for a very long time and it's gonna make clutter along that small little road, I just don't like it. Is there any resolutions for that? What would happen?
So I believe, Ms. Dominguez, that could be addressed through, for example, and I don't know the part of the code, maybe the planning text know the language, but there's something in the code that says you cannot have essentially junked cars that have been there for, again, there's a specific time, 90 days, I believe, maybe 120, but it would only be enforced if code enforcement drives by
Only if.
and sees, hey, that's it. It's called an inoperable vehicle. You cannot have an inoperable vehicle on your lot for a specific number of days. You guys remember it or no? No. But there is a law that says you cannot have inoperable vehicles. Perhaps that's something that could be taken care of, regardless of whether it's this or any car, right?
Right.
That's inoperable.
Hmm.
And I know that city council has been working on these ordinances, you know, this is like the third one or second one that we vote on. Is there a specific reason why this one was brought up next? Is there somebody waiting on it? And then the follow-up question would be, where did we get the half acre size?
Yes, sir. So the answer to your first question is there was several members of the public that showed up 3 months ago to city council in subsequent meetings. I want to say 10, 15 people. So there was some pressure from council politically on that. And then on the half acre, that was, I believe it was Ms. Colon Villalobos who specifically said if it's a larger lot, then it could probably be allowed as opposed to a 6,000, 8,000, 10,000 square foot home.
Carlos, I believe Ms. Marian Cruz would like to speak on the subject as well, if that's okay.
So we would have to open it for public if the commission.
Is this open for public or not?
No, I signed up for this item, but I wasn't trying to interrupt. I don't get to speak until right before a vote's gonna happen, or a motion's been made.
I think it's under discussion and I don't have the agenda in front of me, y'all. What does it say? Public can speak, can't they?
Yeah, you can make a motion to open it for public discussion and close it after.
And I had signed up to speak on item 8 as well, and I wasn't called.
Will this be brought up next week? I mean, will it be brought up-
This
yeah,
item,
next
sir,
week, right?
this one? It's going to city council January 6th. There's one more P and Z meeting between now and then, so it's entirely up to you if you want to table it or not.
Go ahead, Mr. Cisneros, you have a question?
I'd really like to just kind of give city council, give those people that went and spoke on it, you know, give them information so that they can go and either vote for it or against it. I'm in agreement that I think half an acre is too small. As a small business owner, you know, eventually you grow to where where all the conditions are ideal and perfect for your business, but while you're growing, you know, there's gotta be some leeway there. I would be open to changing it from half an acre to an acre. But yeah, I don't know if, and again, because there is that conditional use permit that they still have to come, the abutting residential area is gonna be informed. So I think that there's enough room there to support the small trucking community in the city of Socorro, and then also enough oversight to where it's gonna come back to commission, or the committee, and it's gonna go to city council. So that's where I'm at on this issue.
Mr. Cisneros, Mr. Chair, if I may, just not to interrupt, but just to clarify one thing, I don't believe that a conditional use permit requires us to do the 200 feet radius.
Oh, no?
Anybody know? I think it's only on a rezoning.
So then it would still go to.
It's still a public hearing. It's still processed through our office. It still has to go to planning and zoning. Yeah, the conditional use permit is not administratively. We can't give it to you the day of.
Yeah.
It has to go. But I'm happy to research it and come back to you on that, or separate from that. But I just wanted, for the record, to show that you said that, and then it doesn't happen, and hey, Carlos, you never told us.
Well, and here's the other thing I'm worried about, and because the last time we tabled something, it still went to city council. City council still did an up or down vote on it. So I think that tabling this issue doesn't help. It's not gonna, I mean, just the last time an ordinance was changed, we had tabled it, and city council still voted on it. So in my opinion, I think we should either give them something to vote on, yes or no, expecting it to come back. I wouldn't expect for it to come back. But I'll wait to make a motion, just to see if anybody else, how everybody else feels on that.
I don't have anything on it. If you want to make a motion, Mr. Estrada?
I'll say that it's not only, like, even if you increase the lot size to 1 acre, you still need to drive on a residential street to get the truck onto the lot. So now you're backing in, backing out, whatever it is. I think it's a huge inconvenience. Eyesores, because I don't like trucks. I like the truckers, okay. But yeah, you still need to drive to the residential lot. So something like this, I don't know how to make a motion, but we're asking, it's consider and take action, right? We're asking.
Yes, sir. I mean, you could move to deny, move to approve, move to table.
The table's up for a motion. If anybody wants to make a motion.
So I would make a motion to approve with the condition to change it from half an acre to 1 acre.
I can make an additional motion, correct? Because there's no
I
second.
think you have to wait for this one to die, which
Okay.
it probably
Is there a
has.
second?
I apologize. I have a motion made by Enrique do I have a second?
Is there a second?
Is there a second?
Okay, so can I make a motion?
Sure.
Okay, I make a motion to deny. No action, no changes.
Do I have a
nothing.
second?
Second.
I have a motion made by David Estrada to deny recommendation, second by Juan Vaquera. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays?
Nay.
Any abstain? Motion carried. Moving on to item number 10, Planning and Zoning Commissioner Report. Mr. Arroyo?
I don't have anything to report. Any of the commissioners? No.
Moving on to item number 11, Planning and Zoning Department Report.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Reynar?
Mr. Chair, just one item, actually a couple of items, but the one that's part of the agenda, I know we had spoken in the past about providing training to the commission. There is a scheduled training from the same law firm that we had talked about a little bit less than a year ago. They will be here on Friday, January 20th, up in Horizon City. Here's the agenda that's in front of you. We have been coordinating with the staff of Mr. Bojorquez, and so they will be providing this training not only to the city of Socorro, but citywide. However, they have prioritized the city of Socorro, and so we highly encourage you to attend. The city will cover the cost. I just need to know who's going. That way we have a head count, and we know that we can write a check for the different people that are going. I know all of our staff is going. Ms. Rodarte had wanted me, we had been talking, but she had wanted me to explicitly ask that you please consider going. And so if you're interested, this would be the date. There's still enough time to put it on your calendars. It's after the holidays. It would be on a Friday from 9 to 12. And if you're interested, let me know, and we will cover that cost. I believe it's $75, $45, $75. But again, it's in our budget. It's part of what we should be doing, providing, educational opportunities for the commission. And so if you are interested, happy to let me know now, or if you want to shoot me an email, maybe by the end of the week.
I'll be happy to go.
Yeah, awesome. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. SO. Okay. Awesome. So we'll cover that cost, and then as it gets closer, we'll send a reminder. But yeah, it'll be Bojorquez is they do good work. They specialize in zoning, land use, planning law in the state of Texas. So it should be good. Mr. Chair, just another item. As I mentioned to you, we will in 2023 move towards doing the city's comprehensive plan. The city council approved the qualifications of a matrix planning consultant out of San Antonio. So we're negotiating a fee with them. Hopefully we get them on board early next year, January, February, but start looking for that to happen. We will ask for involvement from the planning and zoning, right? A lot of this comes through you all, so highly encourage you that when that time comes that we start having public meetings and conversations and discussions, that all of you as one of the most important commissions in the city engage with us, ask us questions, the consultants, we want to make sure, as you know, the comprehensive plan sets the vision for the city for the next several years, 10, 15 years. So it's a really important process in which you get to provide input, the public gets to provide input. It's an opportunity for us to step away a little bit from sort of the technical aspects of it and start thinking about what we want Socorro to be, conversations about housing and apartments and open spaces and that sort of thing. These are the sort of big picture things that the comprehensive plan process allows us to engage in. And so I know I've mentioned it in the past, but wanted to just give you an update that we do have a consultant at least on board we still have to negotiate the fee, but hopefully get them on board early next year and then spend the rest of the year working through these things. That's all I have, sir. We do have one more meeting before the end of the holiday, so I won't say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all that. We'll wait till next one.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to item number 12, consider and take action on the adjournment of this meeting. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion made by Andrew Arroyo to adjourn, second by Julie Dominguez. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned at 7:09. Thank you. Have a good night.